today on Rappler.
To be anyone's scapegoat and everyone's whipping boy.
Juan Ponce Enrile irrevocably resigns as Senate President. Senators Trillanes and Alan Peter Cayetano say Enrile's resignation does not address his handling of Senate funds. And after the blast, Serendra residents raise concerns about safety. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Juan Ponce Enrile irrevocably resigns as Senate President Wednesday, the second to last session day of the chamber, at the end of his privileged speech. Enrile says critics used his handling of Senate funds to destroy his name and work against his son Jack, who ran but lost in the 2013 senatorial race. Enrile says criticism against him centered on his handling of Senate funds, particularly his alleged favoritism in allocating additional operating funds. In December, Senators Alan Peter Cayetano, Pia Cayetano, Sonny Trillanes, and Miriam Santiago received only 250,000 pesos each in additional Senate funds, while 18 senators received 1.6 million pesos each. In his speech, Enrile says, "I carried the brunt of the public's ire over an infamous one-page certification prevailing system of liquidation, which were not my creation." He also hit colleagues who stayed silent while he was, quote, "publicly pilloried and crucified over the fund issue."
The budgets for these committees are charged against the Senate's budget. But the truth is that these committees operate and spend funds autonomously. Yet I was left alone to explain as the minority floor leader questioned the increasing budget of the Senate from the time I assumed the Senate presidency in November 2008.
Enrile says he wants to defend himself against the attacks of his critics.
I lay claim to nothing more than the right to vindicate my solid name. I refuse to be anyone's scapegoat and everyone's whipping boy. Let us all be men and women worthy of being called, quote, honorable senators, unquote. And let the chips fall where they may. And so, as a matter of personal honor and dignity, I hereby irrevocably resign as Senate President.
With Enrile's resignation, Senate Pro Tempore Jinggoy Estrada is now the acting Senate President. Senator Sonny Trillanes and Senate Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano described Senate President Enrile's resignation as, quote, theatrics, saying it does not answer questions about how he spent and liquidated Senate funds. Lacson, who defended Enrile at the height of the controversy, says Enrile's resignation was a long time coming.
Sa akin, just like all the previous interviews, medyo lang sa akin, I'm looking at this as more theatrical than anything. No, it's not graceful, kasi inevitable na papalitan siya eh. It's inevitable that he will be replaced. So, whether unahan mo o hindi, mangyayari yan. So, let's move on. Yun na lang ang inaantabayanan natin. Alam naman natin kung ano yung kasaysayan eh. So, all these rants sa akin is just coming from a bitter man.
Sir, does it accomplish anything yung pagre-resign niya?
Wala na accomplish. It just provided the drama for the day para sa ating media. But the country will move forward with or without him.
By resigning, he has not answered the issue. In fact, there are more questions now than answers. But what about the money of the Senate? Hindi naman kami ang gumamit noon. At paano yung 250,000 na pinamigay, di ba? hindi tama na sabihin. So, ibig sabihin ngayon, kung lahat ng pondo ko sa opisina, binigay ko sa ibang tao, sabihin ko sila magpaliwanag, ikaw may hawak nun, ikaw nagpamigay nun eh. So, may liability ka rin kung mali ang paggamit mo doon. So, hindi ko matatanggap na pwedeng pang Christmas gift ang 250,000, tapos sasabihin mo, bahala na yung senador kung paano niya i-liquidate yon.
It's always a personal decision eh. Kasi noon niya pa talaga gustong mag-resign. Kaya lang na prevalence siya ng mga kasamahan din na hindi ituloy, kaya hindi naging irrevocable. Ngayon, very firm siya, ginawa niyang irrevocable. Sama ng loob, actually. Matagal lang masama ang loob niya dahil sa nangyayari sa Senado. Nagsimula ito nung siya yung personally ina-attack. And nagpatong-patong na rin, nadamay pa yung kanyang anak dahil nasama rin sa batikos. Kaya ayun, unfortunately, hindi rin
Our social media post of the day comes from Mustafa Ampatuan. He reacts to Juan Ponce Enrile's public resignation. He says, "It seems like they're making Enrile solely accountable and liable for the budget issue. Is this a transparency they want?" Palace spokesperson Edwin Lascerda says the results of the government's investigation of the deadly blast in Serendra are expected this Friday. Last Friday, on May 31, a strong explosion rocked the high-end condominium in Taguig, killing 3 and injuring 4 others. Analysts say they don't expect any long-term negative impact on the property market in Taguig, but residents say they're concerned about perceived lapses in safety protocol. Serendra residents tell Rappler electrical supply was cut off from some buildings on the day of the blast for a scheduled preventive maintenance. The power interruption turned off the unit's gas detectors, which were attached to electric outlets. But one resident says his gas stove continued to work despite the electricity interruption, confirming gas continued to flow. He adds, the gas detector that detects leaks was not working. Serendra's maintenance office, though, says the gas detectors should have continued to work because they're powered by a generator. Joining us with updates on the investigation over the Serendra blast is Natasha Gutierrez. She is waiting for a meeting. Natasha, where are you now and what's happening?
Hi, Maria. I'm here outside to Serendra, where we are waiting for Interior Secretary Mar Rojas to come out and speak to media about any updates that he may have on the probe. Secretary Rojas arrived here at about 2:15 p.m. earlier today. It's been almost 7 hours. He's been meeting with investigators of the blast, such as representatives from the Bureau of Fire and Protection, the Police, Mayor Lani Cayetano is here as well, SOCO, as well as NCRPO Chief Leonardo Espina. However, it seems that he will not be meeting with media tonight, according to one of his staff. His staff also said that he has been meeting with them one by one, which is why it has taken all day to come up with updates. Unfortunately, it seems that we will just have to wait for what they have actually talked about in that meeting tomorrow, if not Friday, when the results of the probe are expected to be released.
The explosion happened 5 days ago. What is taking so long?
That is the question in everyone's mind, Maria. You know, there are a lot of speculations going on, and that's what I've noticed has been the problem. You know, I understand that the government has said they don't want anything that is quick but inaccurate. Rather, they want something that may take longer but will withstand any sort of criticism. Unfortunately, that also means that a lot of speculations have been flying. The thing is that during this time, this long time that has been, it has been 5 days since the blast, we also have talked to residents, kind of try to get a clue of what people felt, what happened. I also talked to the lawyer of the Kaitons who owned the unit 501B, where the blast was, and he gave me some details that might be of interest that I'll share with you. He said, Attorney Fortune said that San Juan, the man who was renting the apartment during the time of the blast, did not use the kitchen. He says this because there were no kitchen in the unit. We also know that there were renovations in that unit. So we know that there were renovations from April to May. But he told me that the only thing renovated from the apartment was actually turning the 1-bedroom into a 2-bedroom apartment. There was nothing touched in the kitchen. However, we also know that this apartment was not cleared for leasing by Serendra management. However, they did allow San Juan to stay there for 9 days. These are obviously points of interest, and these are the type of information that we're just getting from people, since we cannot get straight updates from Secretary Mar or any of the police, since they have been given a gag order by Secretary Mar. And I guess this is also another reason why it has taken so long. No one is willing to talk, no one is willing to say anything until they are 100% sure.
Okay, thank you so much, Natasha Gutierrez, reporting live from Serendra. We'll wait to hear as you get information. The Supreme Court overturns COMELEC's decision disqualifying party list groups. The status quo ante-order will affect party list groups Abang Likod and senior citizens from the May 13th polls. The court also orders COMELEC to reserve a seat in the House of Representatives for senior citizens party list. The two groups are among the 12 disqualified by COMELEC after the court belatedly issued a new set of criteria for party list accreditation. Supreme Court spokesman Ted Tess says the court leaves it to COMELEC to, quote, interpret the court order on whether to resume the proclamation of party list winners. On May 29th, the court stopped the proclamation of remaining party list winners following the petition of the senior citizens group. COMELEC Chair Sixto Brillantes says the poll body will study the impact of the new court order. Let's go to good news. Something wonderful happening in some of the worst performing public schools in Quezon City. 52 idealistic achievers are devoting 2 years of their lives there. Actually, that's 53 of them. Rappler looks at a Filipino American's first day in class. David Losada reports.
It was a day of firsts. For these kids, it's the first day of class. For Filipino American Kilo Chuidian, it's the first day he teaches a class. A graduate of Boston University, Kilo could have landed a well-paying job anywhere in the world. Instead, he's here teaching public school at the Holy Spirit Elementary School in the Philippines. Kilo is one of the 53 fellows of Teach for the Philippines, deployed in 10 public schools in Quezon City. He pledges to teach for 2 years.
Saan yung drawing mo sa kahapon?
Passionate about education, Kilo initially thought of joining Teach for America. An invitation from his mom to teach in the Philippines instead changed his plans.
Why in the Philippines? Because the Philippines is a country that for many years I had ignored my ethnicity to, and I had figured that it was time to finally go back to my cultural roots and find out what it meant to be Filipino.
After his first class, Kilo says everything turned out as expected.
I thought I had a 6-hour lesson plan, but came out to only 3, so made me remember that teaching is really about thinking about on your feet, and being able to adjust to how quickly your students learn. October, November, December.
Growing up in America, Kilo is not fluent in Filipino. He admits language makes it difficult for him to communicate with his students. He employs a technique to overcome this weakness.
I guess it's really interesting considering my students, because half the time we don't really understand each other. So what I have to do is wait for one of them to finish the task and then tell them, okay, you go teach everybody else.
Department of Education Superintendent Dr. Betty Cavo expects the fellows to bring a new perspective to the public school system.
We wanted to expose our students, give opportunities to our students to be trained under best teachers. These are not the typical public school teachers. So this is a new experience for our children. As the principal was saying, the students were very excited when they saw their teachers. No? They were young, full of idealism.
The TFP partner schools scored lowest in last year's National Achievement Test. As for teacher Kilo, he knows that he is up for an exciting year.
Also found out that a couple of my students really want to be doctors and engineers, and they're trying really hard to learn math and the sciences. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to keep reinforcing all the good behaviors I want to see in them throughout the year.
Kilo wants his students to achieve their dreams. This is a dream he shares with the 52 other fellows of Teach for the Philippines. David Lozada, Rappler, Manila.
Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 1, France's foreign minister says French lab tests confirm the Syrian government used nerve gas multiple times to fight opposition rebels. The tests were based on samples of body fluids taken from victims in Syria, including urine samples carried out by French reporters. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon calls the new report on growing atrocities in Syria's civil war, quote, sickening and staggering. At number 5, Thousands of Hong Kong residents hold a candlelight vigil Tuesday to mark the 24th anniversary of China's bloody Tiananmen crackdown, despite Beijing blocking commemoration attempts. Mainland authorities block online searches for a variety of keywords and patrol landmarks of the crackdown. This didn't stop Hong Kong residents from gathering in Victoria Park, where 150,000 people attended the vigil. And at number 10, American comedian Dorothy Custer celebrates her 102nd birthday by base jumping from a bridge in Idaho. Base jumping is an extreme sport where people jump off buildings, antennas, spans, and earth and parachute before landing on the ground. After her jump, she was quoted saying, "There's nothing left to do now but live." For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Philippine national football team mainstays James Younghusband and Neil Etheridge helped lift the Azkals past Hong Kong 1-0 in their FIFA International Friendly game on Tuesday. Younghusband put the Azkals ahead, scoring on a header at the 33rd minute. Goalkeeper Neil Etheridge plays hero in the dying minutes as he comes up with multiple saves in the 86th, 88th, 91st, and 92nd minutes. The 1-0 win marks the Philippines' first victory against Hong Kong in recent football history. The Azkals Hong Kong football match takes an ugly turn as fans of the home team in the stadium started yelling racial slurs at the Philippine national football team and its fans. News website South China Morning Post reports some of Hong Kong's supporters yelled to Filipino fans, quote, "You're all just slaves." Sports writer Sadelf Tupas, who was at Mong Kok Stadium, tweets the hostile atmosphere started early on with Hong Kong fans booing the Philippine national anthem. Filipino fan at Andinas, who was also at the stadium to watch the game, tweets, "When the Azkals went to our area, the home fans were throwing bottles at them, hitting their own securities. Shameful." Thankfully, the Filipino fans did not retaliate. Isabel Villaflor tweets, "So proud of the Pinoy fans in Hong Kong, classy even in the face of disrespect." There's been no comment from the Hong Kong Football Association. On World Environment Day, advocates aim to promote awareness about the alarming situation of food consumption and waste. Voltaire Tupas reports.
Food blogger Erwan Yusuf dines in fancy restaurants, but at home, he still prefers to buy and cook his own food.
I'm very efficient in terms of whatever I'm eating that day, whatever I'm preparing for myself that day. I go to restaurants a lot and multiple times. But during the week, the work week, I try as much as possible to cook for myself. And I think once you have an understanding of the food that you're eating, it becomes more intimate and more educational.
It is the kind of awareness on food consumption that the United Nations Environment Program is promoting on World Environment Day. The situation on the ground is alarming. The UN says nearly a third of global food production is either wasted or lost. Food waste is a huge drain on natural resources, hurting the environment. Having worked in food industries here and abroad, Erwan feels the prevailing behavior on food consumption must change in the country.
So I think people need to realize that the effects that they have on both the environment. If the more food you waste, the more food you buy, the more crops are being taken and everything. So it has a massive impact.
While some people waste food, the poor, who have little access to resources, go hungry. Every day, 1 in 8 people sleeps on an empty stomach. There are about 870 million people in the world who suffer from hunger. For Denise Celdran, owner of a restaurant that serves organic food, the problem lies in food production and distribution.
Well, I think we're so disconnected from the source of our food. For us, if we want to eat, we go to the supermarket. So of course, it's become a business, so it's big industry involved. So they produce a lot of food, a lot of it's going to waste.
Denise and other advocates of healthy food are building a movement. They are innovating a system of bringing food from the farm to the table. Their strategy, get rid of the middleman. Denise serves food in her restaurant that comes directly from Cebu ng Agam at Teknolohiyas Organic Farm in Tarlac.
Hanggat maaari, bumababa kami sa middle saka sa lower. Karamihan pag sabi ko organic, high-end na masyado eh. So ang sibat kasi binababa namin siya sa baba ng antas ng mga masa. Hanggat maaari, ma-afford nilang bilhin ang organic vegetable.
According to Lato, it is a practice of food production in which farmers can also consume the organic goods that they produce and sell in the cities. On World Environment Day, food consumers are encouraged to think, eat, and save. It is a campaign to change the imbalance in individual lifestyles that impact on the environment. But the bigger pressure is on the food industry to feed more and waste less. Voltaire Tupas, Rappler, Manila.
Every story on Rappler has a mood meter which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator that's in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories, the 10 events which have affected Rappler's readers the most. If you take a look today, these are the 10 stories that have given us the mood of the day. The story that's gotten the most number of clicks on the mood meter is by Patricia Evangelista. This is the rape of Jessica Soho about Vice Ganda's joke. Look at this one. You have 46% sad and 16% angry. That does lead to this red mood of the day, which is the story that we just saw, K-12 and Hope on the first day of school, story in tonight's newscast with the Filipino-American Kilo. There's a 71% angry on that one. I'm not sure whether that's on K-12 or the first day of school. That red, joined by other reds on the mood navigator, contributing to the mood of the day. Today, most people are angry. Well, that's Rappler's newscast for today, Wednesday, June 5, 2013. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.